But it's usually, we usually don't get started till like quarter off because class gets out and just most of the time there's stuff stuck in that room. How's everybody doing? Good? Yeah?
I've been better.
Anybody high right now? Mary?
Very hot. I'm just hot.
High.
I thought you said hot. I only have one brand, and I know the longest for my eyes.
You have one brand?
One edible? I have one brand.
That's all?
That's it.
Medicinal, right, Mary? Yeah, that's so sad. I get it. It's supposed to calm you down.
All right, so let's sit, because usually if I don't sit in the beginning, then I get carried away and I can't shut up and I forget to stop and we never meditate. So. Just the deal with people talking. Teaching meditation at the Y is always fun because it's like
Kids screaming.
kids screaming,
No,
people
they're not
talking.
there on Sundays.
Well,
though.
yeah, on Sundays it's
There's
not
a
that
And the
bad.
squirrel's still there?
There's a squirrel.
Oh, that's
Squirrel's
right,
still there.
squirrel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The whole family. It's probably his grandparent or his grandchildren.
That thing scared the heck out of me the one day.
Before you know it, they'll be sitting for meditation.
They seem to run over during meditation.
Yeah,
though.
we're like in yoga and the mom was like crawling around.
Are you good? You comfortable?
Yes,
Your knee okay?
thank you.
Yeah, okay. All right. So here we go. So sit up nice and tall. Gently close the eyes. So if you can learn to meditate with really loud distractions and stuff, like I always said at the Y when I would teach there, and it'd be really loud next door, you'll totally be able to meditate no problem when it's quiet. So try your best to stay focused. So each vertebrae stacked on the other, nice and tall, shoulders relaxed. Shoulder blades drawing together on the back gently. Mouth gently closed, teeth slightly separate, and tongue resting against the upper top teeth. And draw the low belly in just very gently. Relax the face, jaw, eyelids, corners of the eyes. And just still the body, first part. Perfectly still. Mind can wander, can do whatever it wants, just right now body still. Good. Then just open your awareness and take in all around us right now. Sounds in the hallway, sounds in the room. And instead of just attaching to any particular sound. Just keep being receptive, keep being open, and ready for the next thing to arise, like the next sound, the next sensory object. Maybe temperature on the skin, just taking in as much as you can. Maybe let's start with far away sounds. So listen for sounds outside this building, cars, if any are present. Or just keep scanning. What can you hear that's outside the building? And then leave that in the background and bring your attention to the building now. So people talking in the lobby, white noise maker, the hum of the lights. See what you can take in that's within the room, while maintaining the background awareness, like peripheral. Like we have peripheral vision, we have our straight on vision. So now in your peripheral awareness is the sounds outside the building. And your main focus, your main vision now is on the sounds around us in the building. I guess they think that white noise drowns out voices, white noise machine, but doesn't seem to do much. Now leave the sounds outside this room here in the background, as well as the sounds outside. Put them in your peripheral awareness. And then main focus is now within this room. Sounds around you, people around you breathing. Have the body on the ground, contact points. Temperature on the skin. And now put all the sounds in the background in your peripheral awareness. And your main focus is coming into the body now. So if your focus jumps to the sounds around you, then just let them go and bring your mind back to your body on the ground. Feel your skin, your main focus. And just try to juggle. It should be like a 50-50 balance of peripheral awareness and main focus attention. Too much attention, you'll lose all your background awareness. And then the mind can easily get lost, jump to something else, wander. And too much background awareness, then you're not clear on what you're focusing on. So try to find a nice balance in between being aware and focused. Aware of what's happening around you, but focus now on the body, skin. So we're not trying to shut off all the sounds. If we were trying to do that, it'd be impossible to meditate. Let them have a place, but in the peripheral. So just imagine them as traffic on the highway, cars driving beside you. You don't need to stare at the cars driving beside you. Just stay focused on the road ahead. But keep them in your awareness. Otherwise, you can have an accident. And so every time the mind leaves your main object of attention, then gently bring it back. Even have a little moment of like a mental pat on the back, a little mental rejoicing that you caught the mind, because that's the whole practice. So by feeling good that you caught the mind, by reinforcing that behavior, it makes that stronger, that muscle stronger. And so now push everything else in the background and bring your focus now just to the breath in the body. So main object is breath in the body. The belly, the chest. You're still maintaining a peripheral awareness of sounds, of the skin, body on the ground. So just work on what that means to you, what that feels like. And try to find a nice balance. Refine even more, bring your focus at the tip of the nose. So we're just going from really gross down to very subtle with our focus. So now everything else is in the peripheral awareness. Your main focus is now the two nostrils, place in between the two nostrils. And if it helps to visualize like you're a guard in a tower standing in between the two nostrils watching traffic come and go, or a cave alongside the ocean that fills up with the tide as the waves come in and out. So anytime the mind leaves, you just gently bring it back. Focus is on the tip of the nose, watching the breath, sensations there. Let's do the perfect 10 now. So try to get to 10 breaths, watching the breath at the tip of the nose, without your mind leaving the breath. If you get to 10, then start your count back over. If your mind leaves the breath, after 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then start your count back over. And try to be really strict with yourself. If a loud sound arises and your mind jumps to that sound, but then comes immediately back, then you can continue on with your count. But if it leaves and starts wandering and then you come back, then start your count over. Okay, then let that go. So if you need to shift, right, mindfully shift. If you don't need to shift, then don't. And we'll briefly go through the preliminaries to meditation practice. So that whole little scenario is not even a preliminary, considered a preliminary. It's kind of pre-preliminary. But when it's really loud and distracting, it's really good to go through that and really work from gross to subtle instead of just trying to go right into it. So first preliminary is taking refuge. So think about ways in your life that you typically go for refuge, in the sense that there's something that you don't want and you feel like something can give you something that you do want. So in the case of not being happy or having a crappy day or being stressed out from something or another, we typically try to find refuge in worldly things like television or experiences. Or so just think about the various ways that, when you're not having a great day, that you try to find your peace in worldly things. Shopping maybe, just all the various ways. And then think about how these things can bring you happiness. Because if they could, they would always bring you happiness. And they'd bring happiness for everybody if they were the cause for peace or happiness, etc. So if to feel happy, all I had to do was go shopping, then the more I shopped, then the more happy I'd feel. And I would never get tired of it, and it would just make me happy. Or the more television I watched, the more happy I'd feel. The more money that I had, the happier I'd feel. And so, real refuge is not in these worldly things. It doesn't come from external things. It's an internal process. So take refuge in the fact that things are coming from you and not at you. That irritating people are coming from you and not at you. Your best understanding of emptiness and karma here. If there's something that you want, you have to give it to somebody else. And that's real refuge. Real refuge is understanding that if you want happiness, that you got to help somebody else be happy, take care of other people. Which is what this whole course is about, refuge, and what that means. That's just an overview. And next preliminary is generating bodhicitta. So bodhicitta is the wish to want to fix yourself, to get yourself enlightened so that you can help other people, all other beings, all the people you love, people that are close to you. You want to help remove their suffering. So in order to do that, you want to stop your own suffering first so that you can help them. So here it's helpful to just think of somebody that's suffering in your life in some way, and just try to develop a wish to want to be able to help them. And then mentally making a commitment to dive into these practices more and fix myself and really change myself, which ultimately is going to create a perfect, happy, peaceful person if things are coming from causes. And if I can do that to myself, then I know a lot of people that would want the same thing. So I'm going to commit me coming here tonight, commit my practice, me meditating daily, with that in the back of my mind, that you just think about all the people that I love that I could help. But no one's going to want to listen to somebody who's talking about being happy and peaceful if they're stressed out. So fix yourself first is the attitude, so that you can help them. And so next preliminary is bring to mind your highest idea of a being, of a person, someone that exhibits like the ultimate qualities. So in Buddhism, of course, it's a Buddha. Someone's perfected their own minds, perfectly happy, perfectly content. But this can be anybody. It could be anybody in your life that exhibits some positive quality that you wish to aspire to. Maybe that you see that you don't have, or you haven't perfected yourself. It could be a parent, a friend, teacher. But just visualize them sitting in front of you here in meditation. Start by coloring in their silhouette, so just outline their outline. And then if you can get that pretty clearly, then just start to color in the details, their face, their eyes, lips, nose, smile. They're happy to be here with you. So bigger the better here. So maybe someone like the Dalai Lama or Mother Teresa, or just someone that exhibits really good positive qualities. And then just mentally go over the good qualities that you see in them. So this is like called prostration, mental prostration, where just recognizing the good qualities in them is in a sense like bowing down to those good qualities that you see in them. So it's like a little mental gratitude. Just recognize those qualities, see them maybe last time you've seen them exhibit that good quality, whether it was patience or generosity, or just the ability to stay stable and grounded in any situation maybe. Maybe extremely wise. And then make them offering. So here, make them a mental offering. This could be anything from a sky full of flowers to, a batch of cookies that you just made, but you can have fun. It's just a visualization here. But make them an offering, thanking them for being an example in your life. Like if the Dalai Lama showed up at your house, you would have something ready for him. You would be like, oh, here's a few crackers that I have left over from last night. You'd probably have something made. So that kind of thought. And then last two, purification and rejoice. So first one, purification. So think of something unkind you did to somebody else in the past day or so. Some unkind thing that you did that you witnessed yourself doing, which put an imprint into your mind stream. You can't unsee yourself saying something unkind or doing something unkind. And according to everything we learned, that's what creates our world for us, is the small actions we're doing moment to moment. So think of something you did that wasn't so kind to somebody else, and try to develop some regret towards it. Like, I wish I didn't handle it that way, or I wish I handled it a little bit more kindly. Because I know I just in essence, drank poison for myself. And it didn't help them either. And then make a resolution not to do it again for a certain period of time. Restraint. So think of something you can do that a time period that you can do that you won't do that again, to counter that negative imprint, that negative karma. So make sure it's something you do, otherwise you'll be lying to yourself, which is creating another negative karma. So maybe it's only for the next 10 minutes or the next hour, I'm not going to do that thing. And then lastly, purification is, think of something you can do to counter that negative karma. Some positive action that you can do to outweigh that. In the same vein. So if it's, you said something unkind to somebody, then looking for some kind thing to say. So maybe praising somebody for a good quality that they show you, that they have. And then finally, rejoicing. Think of something good you did in the past 24 hours. Equally as important, if not more. Something good you did, something kind. And just replay it and try to feel happy about it. Maybe there's a few things, but just go through and just see how that person felt when you did that, see how you felt, and just try to feel happy about it. If you can't think of anything, just coming here is a good enough deed. Taking time out of your night. Just be happy that you're here, taking the time. You could have watched some reruns on television instead, but you chose to come here. To better yourself. With the intention of helping people that you love as well. Really, really powerful seeds. Be happy about them. And then come out to the breath, take 3 breaths before you move. And after your third, come out and crack open the eyes. Everyone all right? Good job. That was 25 minutes. Almost 30 minutes. Anybody fall asleep? Feeling tired? Anybody? Feeling dull? No?
Felt good. My leg.
Legs tired? You got a headache, Ellie?
I do.
Oh.
Thank you for listening.
Oh.
Sorry.
I was looking
It's
for
allergies.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't have any Advil. I'm sorry. I was looking. I thought I might have.
Oh, I take that anyway. Thank
You can't take it?
you. No, because of
No.
the blood thinner.
Oh, I do have them.
All I get is Tylenol, which does nothing.
Preliminary is becoming more familiar. Maybe. Yeah.
So I have a question
Yeah.
about them though. So when we're doing thinking of the bad thing that we did,
Yeah.
and then regretting it, and then thinking about the bad thing we did, regretting it, And
4
then-
R's.
and then
Recognize, regret, restraint.
so isn't restraint and the purification, aren't they kind of like the same thing? I'm getting a little tied up.
Well, the whole
there.
process is purification, but restraint is the one that's like, I'm not going to do that again for a certain period of time, which is the most important part of purification. So they say that, really the only way to really purify C. diff if you stop doing that again, like wholeheartedly.
Okay.
If it's something that you're constantly doing, you start pecking away at it, and that's the most powerful part. But then the last one is like resolution, like the thing you're gonna do to. So recognize, regret, restraint, and resolution are like easy ways to remember. Resolution is like, okay, what's that thing I can do to counter it? One's stopping, I'm not gonna do that negative thing again, and this is the positive side of that's gonna be, what can I do then?
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah?
So it's like, what can I do in addition to?
Well, it's
Stop.
kind of like, it's like when you put too much spicy stuff in your chili or something like that,
Mhm.
or your Indian food, and you're like, crap, how can I like start to negate this? And you start putting some sugar in there or something, right? And it's supposed to counter the spiciness. So it's kind of like that.
Okay.
You're putting something into that, into your mind stream that's going to be the opposite of that thing to kind of counter it.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you feel lost? You all right?
I'm
Yeah.
fine,
Okay, cool.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Did they kind of make sense?
Mhm.
So just briefly, there's just preliminaries that are in Buddhist meditation that are very important before you start your meditation. So those are those things that we went through, and they kind of prepare your mind for the race. And the race being, the meditation itself. So we didn't go into a main meditation because that was pretty long, but you would do them before you did a main meditation, which could be about as many different objects of meditation. But the idea is like, it's like, you're about to run an Olympic race and you don't just jump into it, you stretch your
Right.
muscles first. Alrighty.
I can meditate just
I was
listening
gonna
to
say,
your
no, the
voice.
people straighten.
Your voice is so calming, it
Well,
calms me down,
yeah.
just hearing your voice.
For me, it doesn't calm me down. Must be empty. Yeah. But thank you. What do you say?
Just that we didn't put our.
Oh, yeah, we forgot. Yeah, because that happens at the end. It usually happens after you do the main meditation. So like before you close. So they're still sitting there. The idea is like,
Yeah.
so the last part of that is you would do your main meditation, and afterwards you see them come up. They come and you ever see is there a Buddha here?
So that's at the end, the light. So we're.
Yeah,
so
see
I
this
have,
little
like,
lump? I
walls
heard
and
before
then-
that this is from their person sitting on top of their head and kind of like the lamp. But, I think that's what it represents. I'm pretty sure because I heard that a long time ago. But one part is leaving them there and having them sit on top of your head and they stay there. And then like I heard stories of like monks that practice this really well, and then they kind of like duck before they go in a doorway because their person's like they don't want to hit their head. But then there's another form where you see them kind of for the yogis. Anybody heard of central channel before? If you've come to my practice, yeah. So you see them descend from the crown chakra down into the heart. The idea is they come and rest in the heart chakra, and there's like a little room in there where the smaller you can make it, the better. But a pea-sized shaped room is perfect. And then have them come sit inside that little room, but there's like plenty of room in there, and they're like nice and roomy. And that's like, and then they're kind of there with you throughout the day. And then the point is we're trying to become more like them, is the idea. So like Buddha, and that's what we're going to talk about. And part of refuge is what we take refuge in and why we'd want to do that. But the idea is to emulate. We want to emulate those kind of qualities that we see, to have them ourselves. So what better way than to have them kind of part of you throughout the day, and they're there to remind you in essence, if you can maybe keeping them on top of your head reminds you more if you're thinking about it more like, but I guess if you're at a point where you practice where you're ducking through the doorways, then you're probably doing really good, Okay, so I kind of went back through and since you all said you wanted like more harder stuff, then I kind of went back through and started going more in-depth version of this course, this class. So if you get bored, it's your fault. And sorry for you guys that weren't here last week. So just really quickly, I'll just give you an overview of what this course is. And I know we handed out that thing, which is kind of it's going to be accurate, but I'm going to be pulling more of like the ACI courses. So these, here is
Thank you.
yeah, so everything on here we'll cover, but in more depth. So the first class is we're going to talk about perfection of wisdom and 3 jewels. We kind of did that a little bit last week. We're going to go more in depth this week. And then next week is the 5 divisions of refuge and 8 qualities of a Buddha. Like Buddha, like this thing that we're in Buddhism trying to become. You know, what is different than that? What is different that I have that about me now that when I become a Buddha? Like, why am I trying to get to that place? And like, what are those qualities that being has? Class 3 is bodhicitta and the mind, so more in depth about bodhicitta. Class 4 is like classifications of bodhicitta. 5 is nirvana. 5 and 6 are about nirvana. Everyone heard of that term before? Yeah, I think I've talked about it briefly here. We'll go into more depth about nirvana, how to get there, what that means. And then 7, 8, 9 are all about emptiness. So more proofs of emptiness. And we went through a lot of them actually in the first course, which I probably cheated and went too far in. But it's more emptiness stuff, which is the essential part of all these classes. And we'll talk about emptiness briefly so you can catch you up fairly quickly. And the last one is, who is Maitreya? And not Atreyu from Neverending Story. Every time I hear that, I think of that. But Maitreya, and that he's a key player in this. This all. So okay. So I have all these courses up online, and it'd be really cool if someone here could catch you up maybe sometime, that would be really cool. But I have them also, you can watch them if you want, from the first one. I don't want to spend too much reviewing, but in general, this whole course is about Buddha's refuge and what that is, and that's a big component to the spiritual practice. A refuge in the sense of I recognize that there's a problem, I'm scared of something, like I don't want something to happen. And 2, there's something that can help me potentially. And what we talked about in the first course was there's 3 principal paths in Buddhism, where first is renunciation, where you've kind of gotten sick of the suffering of this life, right? You've kind of had enough crap happen to you that you're just tired of it and you want to see if there's an alternative. 2 is bodhicitta, which is the wish to, like, if I stop my own suffering, if I learn to stop my own suffering, then what about all the other people that I care about, and all the other people in the world that are still suffering? It's not enough for me just to stop my own suffering. I want to be able to help all the other people stop their own suffering too. So principal path number 2 is bodhicitta, which is the desire to want to stop your own suffering so that you can help other people. So they're part of that package. And then 3 is wisdom, and it's the understanding that is trying to understand how that's all possible and figure out, is it possible? Can I stop my own suffering? Or is it just part of this life and there's nothing I can do about it and it's just more of the same ups and downs? Or is it possible that I could be misperceiving things constantly? And we talked about it on Saturday of the irritating person, right? And that the irritation of the irritating person cannot be a quality coming from them, because if it wasn't, everybody would. And we talked about this on Saturday, and she said there was nobody else in the world that's seen her as a pleasant person. Everybody's seen her as irritating, right? This woman. So.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, you said.
I said maybe if you go through her line at the
Well, the Acme line. Yeah, we got the woman at Acme.
Yeah.
One person in the world might find this woman as pleasant, and that's a person at Acme.
A
that she just met.
stranger.
A stranger. Okay.
A
Right.
stranger. That's
Right.
what I was getting at.
Good. Yeah.
Somebody.
So that proves that she is not, that person is not irritating from their own side, because everybody would have to see them that way all the time, and they never be able to change, and they never be able to fluctuate, they never be able to become your friend, right? If that's who they were, they had this essence of being irritating. So we're going to talk way more about that this course. But refuge ties into renunciation. So, okay, I get refuge. The three principal paths was like the overview of the whole course. This is getting more in depth. Okay, I don't want to suffer any longer. Is there something that could help me? Right? Like this is kind of in sense this class that we're coming to and practicing this stuff is kind of a refuge, right? We're all coming here, and I practicing this on a daily basis because I feel that this could change something for me. I don't have to carry on with the same suffering of life. So we're taking refuge, in essence, in this course, in these classes in Buddhism. So, and then the main subject of this course is the perfection of wisdom. We kind of briefly went through that last week, and so this course was originally, well, not this course, but the perfection of wisdom was originally taught by the Buddha, and from the Buddha was passed down from generation to generation. And like we went through the individual people last week. I don't know if it's necessary to go through them this week, but basically it starts at Buddha and then goes to an early Indian, which was like Master Asanga, and then later a later Indian, which is Haribhadra, and this dates for like 850 for Haribhadra, and then an early Tibetan, which is Jitsumkapa, and then a late Tibetan, which is Kedrup, which is the part of the book, which is the commentary that we're studying. So all these were passed down to 1493, was this Kedrup guy was born, and now it's like down to us. So these are kind of like all the way from the Buddha. These things this teaching was passed down, and in an unbroken lineage, which is I think is the whole purpose of even just knowing that and knowing the people that passed these things down, and the person who originally taught this after the Buddha was a Sangha, and basically him and his brother taught most of what the whole Buddhist canon is. Like anybody that goes to a Buddhist monastery, him and his brother taught the whole, like wrote the whole book on Buddhism. Like they were like truly like, awakened people. So, just the whole point of this is just to know that, it's an unbroken lineage, and if anybody wants more information about the dates and stuff, I can give you them. And the very interesting thing about this course too is like the Buddha on his after he became enlightened, he didn't teach perfection of wisdom because it's really hard and people weren't ready to hear it, and it's just like a story where he like had to be asked multiple times to teach it because he didn't think people were ready to hear it, and the intended audience for these teachings were not like just average Joe Schmoes. They were for people that are on a very high level. So if you're here, you're already those people, because you wouldn't be hearing this if you weren't already on a high level, and you wouldn't even have any understanding whatsoever of what we've been talking about for 10 weeks if you weren't already getting close to the goal. So I don't know, I like seeing those kind of things, that the Buddha, that part of the Buddhism knows all things and knows exactly what people need and how to teach them, knew that most people weren't able to understand, wrap their heads around ideas like emptiness. Mainly emptiness and wisdom, because it's hard to understand that irritating person is not coming at us and it's coming from us. That's a big obstacle to overcome. And it's the only real method to escape suffering permanently is understanding emptiness, right? Everybody remember that? Like otherwise, everything is just band-aids. Like it's like when that irritating person is irritating you, the band-aid is running away, right? Because I know if karma is real, if karma makes sense, then I see myself yelling back at this person that's going to keep perpetuating more of this same kind of stuff for me in the future. I'm going to see more irritating people. So the worst thing I could do would be to irritate them back. So the best thing I could do, stage one, which is like a band-aid, is just run away. Like I have no understanding of emptiness or karma really. I was told that it's not a good thing to yell back. I'm going to try it, but I don't understand emptiness very well. So I'm going to run away, when someone irritates me. Just so I don't see myself, put more vomit out, vomit more irritation out into the world. And then, taint my whole mind stream again to see more irritating people. So, and that's just a band-aid. Stage 2 is sitting there when someone's irritating you and just shutting up. You're shutting this, it's like you put duct tape over your mouth so you can't say anything, but inside your mind it's a war going off, right? That's still a band-aid. You're still thinking negative things, and you're still trying to hurt that person verbally when you're trying to, like, when they're irritating you and you just want to irritate them back on it. But ultimately, the only way to stop suffering ultimately is understand that the whole reason why you're seeing them as irritating is coming from your past karma, because you've seen yourself irritate somebody in the past. And you're literally witnessing karmic seeds ripen, and you're throwing them out there onto that person, labeling that person as an irritating person. And they have no nature of being that way from their own side. And that's the only thing that can stop you, because if you truly understood that, ignorance and wisdom cannot live in the mind at the same time. So ignorance being, they're out there coming at me and I just gotta stop them, I gotta get away from them, I gotta yell back at them or whatever. Wisdom says they're coming from me. I've created the causes to perceive an irritating person right now. And the only way to stop them is to understand that there are a projection coming from my mind that I'm projecting out there onto those parts, shapes, and colors. So that's the only way to end true escape suffering permanently, is understanding emptiness. Crucial. Otherwise, you're just, the 10th person that irritates you in a day, you're going to get, you can be really good. You can meditate really well on, like, okay, I'm not going to get irritated when someone irritates me, with no wisdom involved. And, maybe you're good for the first 10 minutes, and then, third person comes along and you're flipping out because you just reached your limit. Understanding emptiness, using that, having that is the thing that's that gets stronger. The more you understand, the stronger it gets. You can have everybody in the world turn against you, and if you understood emptiness, you could not get irritated. You could not, because you understood that they were coming from you. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So true refuge is understanding that. And we're going to get into that, how that ties in with refuge. But the only way to escape suffering permanently is understanding emptiness. And it's really difficult. And it takes a lot of time to learn. But going through these classes is essential to it. Because then when you meditate, the more you know about these details, about these practices and stuff, when you meditate, then things will happen. Like you'll have the realizations that they've been talking about for thousands of years now. Without training, you can't do it. And in my experience, I had no clue about this stuff, and I constantly need to come back and listen. It's pretty much a daily practice of mine just to put on some teachings. Just even as I'm working, and just listening to the same things I've heard 1,000 times. So I'm up to like maybe 10,000. Maybe not 10,000, but literally maybe 200 on some of these teachings. It's you have to. The training part is essential, and going through all these details, and maybe they're more than you want to learn, but in order to have the direct perception of emptiness, which is the direct experience of that truth, part of that requirement, which I've heard, is like you need like a lot of hours of study. Your mind has to be takes a lot of good positive karma to have a direct perception that the irritating person is coming at you and not from you. I mean that they're coming from you and not at you. And to see that meditation, that's the part where we're trying to get to, and that's the whole goal of these courses. Because at that point, that's kind of like an insurance policy. If you get to the point of having direct perception of emptiness, then you don't have to worry about, which we'll talk about, but the thing that we're fearing, and what we're fearing mainly is suffering. But in this life and as well as future lives, and they say it's not very probably we're not. Most people, 99.99% of people, do not be born again as a human. They're born again in a lower realm, in a hell realm, in an animal realm, etc. So we got the best deal right now, and the most important thing is to take advantage of the time that we have, and the experience that we have, and the opportunity that we have to try to get to this ASAP. And you got to meditate in order to get to it. And it's one of the big of the 5 paths of Buddhism. It's the third path. First and second are just first path is coming here and like starts with renunciation. I'm kind of sick of crap. I want to, and this is, next class is more about these 5, but is renunciation. The second one is starting to understand emptiness, working on emptiness. And the more you work on emptiness, the closer you start to get to having this direct perception that you can have in meditation. But when you get to that point, then it's like you just have this kind of insurance policy that you feel like, in some aspect, that no one can tell you anything after that. Like you're good. 30 minutes after, like during this, right after this experience, you meet a Buddha directly. You see your future lives. You know that you only have a certain amount of lives to live. 7, they say, max lives to come back and live. And you know, and the other important, one of the key things is that you know you're not crazy, what you just seen. Like one of the experiences that you have after that direct perception is that you perceive that you're not crazy. So, and then what's the method for seeing emptiness is contemplating it intellectually. And it's truly the antidote for this life. And proof that we haven't seen it before is that we're here studying it. And we're still in this cycle of suffering. So we are on, that's not even on here, but it's part of the whole reason of all these 18 courses. So the Prajna Paramita, which is the perfection of wisdom. Let me just, oh my God. It's 20 minutes. Just so you see this word. Oh, it's on there too, right? Yeah, it is on there. Sorry. So Prajna Paramita is the perfection of wisdom. Prajna is wisdom. Paramita is the perfection. And last week we said, anybody remember what the perfection of wisdom is? From last week? Yeah?
Taking refuge in emptiness is the only way that you can take true refuge? No? I'm just back.
No, that's accurate, but that's not what the perfection of wisdom is. What is?
Perceiving emptiness and desire to have others.
Right. Okay, yeah, so this is a perception of emptiness, the direct perception of seeing that things are coming from you and not at you, that irritating people are coming from you and not at you, that the pen is coming from you and not at you, while having in the mind, in the heart, the desire to want to help all beings. So that's the perfection of wisdom, and that's what this whole teaching is about, is like, how do we get to this place where we have that experience? So the perfection of wisdom then, and this is where we're going to get into deeper stuff. So perfection of wisdom, it must be in the mind of an Arya Bodhisattva. So Arya, everybody remember what Arya is? Arya Health? Arya Healthcare?
It's like a higher.
Arya Healthcare, the hospital? Yeah, what's that?
Arya was like a higher being? Like an enlightened
Yes, that's
being?
true. No, not enlightened, but...
They had the direct perception of
Yeah.
emptiness.
yeah. So someone who's seen emptiness directly.
Isn't enlightened though?
They're not enlightened, no.
So what's the difference?
They're not a Buddha.
If you,
You can have a direct perception of emptiness,
Oh.
but that's only
is
path
all
number
right.
3. There's five paths in Buddhism. First two we just talked about is renunciation. The second one is gaining, like talking about pen, talking about irritating people. Third one is direct perception of emptiness. Fourth is habituation. So you start to habituate yourself to what you just seen. Like, okay, I seen this, I had this profound experience in meditation, but you come out of it and you still see things as the way you did before, but you know you're wrong, right? Right now we can talk about irritating people and try to wrap our heads around intellectually that irritating people have to be coming from me because not all beings, right? You go through this intellectual exercise. When you come out of the direct perception of emptiness, you 100% no doubt any longer that the irritation is coming from you. The irritatingness of the person is coming from you, but you still see them as coming at you. Make sense? And the difference between that and a Buddha is the Buddha sees that, it sees both. It sees that, it sees ultimate reality and deceptive reality at the same time. So an Arya only sees things deceptively still and knows they're wrong, but a Buddha doesn't see things as deceptive anymore. They see this, it's arising, coming from their mind, projecting out there.
So what has the aria perfected again?
You said
So
it
they haven't
was-
perfected anything,
Oh,
not
No,
yet.
they had the direct perception.
Had the direct perception of emptiness.
thank you.
Right. And then Hitler took this term and convoluted it or whatever. Right, the Aryan race is a derivative of Arya, which just means superior being. But this was long before he came along. But it just means someone that, and that is the insurance policy. You become an Arya in this life, which is totally, totally possible. But you have to meditate in order to get to have that experience. Then you're kind of, they call it stream enter as another term that's used for it, where they say you're on the conveyor belt out of this kind of cycle of suffering life. So have you all perceived emptiness?
No, not directly.
Okay, not directly. Yeah. So you have perceived emptiness, but you haven't seen it directly, right?
Yeah.
So difference and perceiving emptiness, we can all work through intellectual, conceptual ideas of this understanding. And you're perceiving emptiness when we're talking about that,
Pen.
huh?
Just fuck the pen.
What if you understand all of that and you have a hold on like the outside world, but when you're your own worst enemy?
What do you mean by that?
Like when you're your own worst critic, or when you're irritating yourself, or creating anxiety for yourself just because of your thoughts. Like you
So the
said,
voice inside your own. See, that's the thing we were talking about too. Is that you're also empty, right? The fact that you're not hardwired. Your mind is not hardwired in any certain way. You're not like stuck, and that's what's potential to become. The mind is infinitely perfectible. Put it that way. And because the mind is not hardwired, we can become a Buddha. We can become an Arya. Which, if we were hardwired suffering, then we'd never be able to get out of this suffering realm. If the mind was hardwired just suffering and I got to deal with this crap and always misperceive things and always have to listen to like an irritating voice inside my head, then forget about it. There'd be no. But the fact that the mind is also empty is the potential, is the grounds for then. To be able to change the mind. And you can change the voice. The voice inside your head that you hear is just karma's ripening. You're just listening to karma's ripening. So if you want to change the voice inside your head, how do you do that? That's help other people change the voice inside their head. What is it that you want? If you just have an irritating voice inside your head, that's coming from you seeing yourself irritating people. It's one level to have the environmental result of having irritating people all around you, right? Like I'm experiencing irritating people. I understand that they have to be coming from me, right? You got to go work through that. But it's also another thing. It's a separate level of karma where the voice inside your head you can't even stand, and that irritates you, right? So how do you change that? That's the same way you change.
Personally, it's not so much. It's like sometimes I set really high goals. So
Yeah.
It's just getting to the goal, and then of course it's like, oh, great, you achieved it. You set
Right,
other goals,
right.
but that, sometimes it's like
It's just-
you can feel.
Yeah. It's good to have goals for sure.
Right.
But ultimately, peace of mind comes from helping other people have peace of mind, period. Because the voice inside your head, are you the speaker or are you the listener of your thoughts?
We talk.
So who thinks we're the speaker? Who thinks we're a listener?
I think we're both.
Yeah. So if we were the speaker of our thoughts, the one proof is simple. If we were the speaker, then we never choose to speak negative thoughts or have a bad day. So we're not the speaker, we're just listening. We're just constantly listening to thoughts that have already ripened. So seeds are ripening in the mind, right? And then they're ripening and then you're hearing them a millisecond later. Just like when I speak, the words coming out of my mouth, they have to be spoken a millisecond before you actually hear it and translate them in your, right? If we can slow this down and like somehow watch the audio, it would travel across the room and they can mathematically, you can figure out how long it takes. Same is happening in the mind, but by trying to change the words coming out of my mouth after you heard them would be crazy, right? Like it's too late at that point. And it's the same in the mind. By the time you hear your thoughts, they've already been spoken and you can't change them. So
But
stop trying to
even
change
if
them.
they haven't really been spoken.
They have been spoken. If you hear them, they've
Right.
been spoken.
Right, but I mean like verbal.
Well, I'm talking about the voice inside your head.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm a teacher within my own mind.
Well, that's good.
I mean,
Your
since
voice
I've
is-
started, like I said, it's because it's just there. It's like, since I've started this, I've kind of really like had to step back within
Yeah.
my own self.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of like what things I try, you know, you're trying to lose weight and you don't want to drink coffee and you're trying to eat good. You're concentrating on those things.
Yeah.
You're doing it because
Yeah.
you want to do. It's those come out of nowhere thoughts
Yeah.
that sit and boggle my mind to begin with,
Right.
because it's like they're just where'd that thought come
Yeah,
from?
yeah, where'd that come
But
from? Yeah.
what I find, like right now, it's like I'm just like, no, that's not nice. I mean, I'm like literally talking
Yeah.
to myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it comes out and I'm like, no, that's not a nice thought,
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
So it's like I use that with the, like renunciate and that other word that you just used, like, you know, like teaching myself
Yeah.
that almost like a child,
Yeah.
right from wrong. This is wrong, that is right, you know, stop, step back, you know, don't think like that, kiss it up to God, like all day.
Yeah, so
That's
what-
what I
what's-
feel like I'm doing all day, trying to stop all this bad stuff
Yeah.
that seems to be in there.
Yeah,
Like,
but you
be
can't
nice.
just by force of will stop it. That's the
No.
moral of the story. It's there and it's ripening, right?
Yes,
By the time you hear it, it's too late.
it's
You
already
can't
said,
change it.
yes,
It's already said.
thought.
So, and that's like with anxiety and stuff like that, depression. By the time you're hearing those thoughts arise, it's already too late. And to try to fight them and try to push them aside just creates more of that kind of thing, because it's too late at that point. You know, the things that are ripening in the mind, it's too late to change them in the present moment. You can't
Except
change.
to s-
You can't change the present in the present, right?
Except to take care of yourself, I guess.
And
Like,
other
if you're
people.
teaching, like, right, because I don't want other is to,
Yeah.
like, to tell myself that's wrong, and then
Yeah.
move on. You don't do that. You
Right,
don't
which
say
is
that.
which
You
is
don't-
which is planting a seed in your mind for future.
Yes.
What you can do is you were the speaker of your thoughts today, last week. The thoughts, you know, we all think we're just sitting here like deciding to have every thought that ripens in our minds and like feeling like we're in total control. I could just think anything. I could just say anything, right? I could do anything. I could raise my arm if I want. I can get up and walk out. I could do, right? But we're just hearing thoughts. These are coming from past karmas. If you want to change the voice inside your head, you have to change how you're behaving. And by you seeing yourself acting differently in the world, that puts different voice inside your head, one, and creates a different world for you too, right? This is more of the internal game, you know. Whether or not you like what you see around you is coming from how you're behaving. Like if you, they kind of go hand in hand, you know. If you change the voice inside your head, then people won't be irritating anymore, right? Because it's coming from in here anyway, right? If you're just more at peace and no one can bother you, then in order for someone to be irritating, you need to be irritated. So you change the voice inside here, then they change, right? So it's like interdependent. So
Well, that's what I was saying earlier to you with my husband.
yeah,
We fight over everything. You know, I come home from work and there's dishes in the sink and I'm like, oh fuck, you know, I'm
yeah,
cleaning, I'm all,
Yeah.
all mad. You know, for the last 2 months, I just come home and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I put it away.
yeah,
I don't get mad at him. I don't get irritated by him. But I say to him, I would really appreciate it if you could help me more around the house. Like
yeah,
I understand he's tired too.
Yeah.
He works all different shifts. And like I said earlier,
Yeah.
he said to me the other day, "Why are you so nice to me all the time?" You know, and he's a nicer person.
Yeah.
He's become a nicer person.
And I'll start helping
And
around the house.
he's doing things
before
like I
you
was
know
telling
it.
you earlier that he's never done before. And I see a huge change in our relationship because
That's awesome.
I changed
Yeah,
the way I looked at everything.
yeah,
He, you know, and if he wants to be dirty, then I'll just put his stuff over there and he
Yeah.
can deal with it. But
yeah,
I was so mad at him all the time because I
Yeah.
couldn't control what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I looked at myself, I'm seeing myself in a much different way.
yeah,
And so again, planting the seeds.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
see
That's
things
awesome.
I see things changing in my life because of it. Yeah.
I mean, that's what the practice,
now I think
you know,
my
that's
son
the gauge if it's working.
I
you
know, my son says, "Oh,
Yeah.
Dad's so irritating." I'm like, why'd you come with me on Thursday nights?
Oh, that irritating.
But yeah, that's funny, because if you think I'm dying or something, you're really nice to me.
I,
Probably thinks I'm trying to kill him now.
He's wondering what the heck's going
Yeah,
on.
what's going, that's what, exactly, what's going on here?
that's awesome. So good work. So does that make sense? So if you want to change the voice inside your head, that's also coming from karmic seeds. So if you want peace, if you want that voice to start speaking peaceful terms, peaceful words, and saying, "Oh, everything's good now, and I'm comfortable," and "Oh, I got goals, but I'm good. If I don't have to stress about them." Like that's a karma too. So like if you're stressing about certain things mentally, then it's where are you pushing people too hard? Where are you expecting too much of other people? Because in the voice inside your head.
That's the fact that you just said that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, cause you said that you came to meditation because of being stressed out and anxiety. So what did you do to start to change?
What was my work?
Yeah, like
Uh-huh.
like
It wasn't very. I didn't have to look very far. It was at home with Lauren. It's like I was constantly stressing her out. For one, like with, it was a lot of years of doing, because we were together for a long time. Like we've been together 15 years now, and for like 7 of those years, I lived on the road and like we traveled the world in the band, and so like that was really stressful times. And like there was times where I just like didn't call her just because I was in the middle. Just like always in situations where she was just a mess all the time. And just wondering what I was doing, where I was, whether I was alive. So I had a lot of back stuff to purify. So more my behavior was more so, how can I just go out of my way to try to help people feel more at peace, more calm. And then at home that just looks like, doing the dishes, just cleaning up, and I kind of wax and wane with this behavior. Sometimes it's not always easy to stay on track with it, but it's cleaning up the house, not leaving a mess for her. Walking the dogs when I can. And like it's funny because like I fight these things all the time. Like I know I should do them, but like I'll make excuses for myself. Like and then the self gets in the way, and then I'll have like I won't be feeling so great for the next few days. It's weird. Like for me, it's become a practice where, just over practicing for so long, it's like it doesn't take much time for me to see like things shift from in my practice, where I'll be having a maybe a not so great day, and then like I'll do something very mindfully, understanding what I'm doing, and then like next day, 2 days down the road, not even it. My mind will just shift and I'll just feel fine. And, that like it'll shift out of that kind of stress or worry or whatever. And then vice versa. Like if I'm feeling great and everything, and then I do something stupid. Yeah.
Where I was feeling great, and then all of a sudden it was like,
Yeah.
wham.
Yeah, and it's usually, and it's your partners, the people closest to you are, that's the highest practice in Buddhism, is having somebody close to you, spiritual partnership. Someone that you can practice with daily, someone close to you. So if you're in a relationship, then consider yourself fortunate in that sense, where it becomes a really, really powerful practice, because everything you're doing is you have someone to bounce off of all day long. This could be anybody, but people close to you are usually the easiest. But for me, one thing is like walking these dogs. It's like this thing keeps coming up, and she constantly says, "Can you just walk the dogs? Can you just walk the dogs?" Going on. And like some days I'll feel, "Oh yeah, of course I'll walk the dogs. I just want you to feel more at peace." And then other days I'll be like, "I'm just worrying about shit and forget about it," And it's just like it changes. For me, that it's like being more mindful of those practices. And it's not like I haven't reached this place of perfection at all. But like I see it's more like this gradual incline where, before it was like, and now it's become more like, like this, where it's very subtle things, and I could very easily pick out the things where, oh, okay, well, I know I'm being ignorant last week or the other day. And it really has to do with, me seeing myself, stressing, helping her not be stressed, really. Because really, she's the main person. I work from home, so it's either her or the dogs. Usually, those are the only two people I see, really, and then you guys on Thursdays. I thought the dogs, yeah. Usually yelling at them, right? Because I believe my yelling is going to stop them from doing whatever it is they're doing, right? Which is also misguided.
Put that pen down, it's not a chew toy.
That's another practice. Like even the dogs are a practice, because to yell at the dog, it's impossible. It's already happening. Forget about it. We've been trying to change the present our whole lives, in the present, and we just can't. And that's like one of the biggest things I've learned, but I constantly still do it. Still trying to change present to present, right? So, yeah, so human nature, and that's what we're fighting, is like this innate habits that we have. And, you know, to get to this place of aria is what we need to do to realize that 99.9% of our perceptions and interactions and things we do on a daily basis are wrong and misguided. Okay, last two things, and we're done. We got 3 minutes. Arya, so we got Arya. So that's anybody that's perceived emptiness directly. And then Bodhisattva. Everyone knows what Bodhisattva is? Anybody who care to elaborate?
It's somebody that practices complete compassion, ultimate compassion.
Yeah. Yeah, so any being that has a desire to become a Buddha to help all beings. So that's the higher level, right? Compassion is one level. The one to become a Buddha because then I could help all beings is like, that's the next level. That's Bodhisattva. So
That's
Arya,
the vows that we talk, right?
huh?
10 vows where we do this the day.
No, Bodhisattva vows are 64.
Oh,
64 vows. They get more in depth of those 10. Those are the freedom vows.
okay.
The 10, they're just the 10 ethical ways of life.
Gotcha.
And then last term is an arhat. And an arhat is a person who's reached nirvana. So nirvana, the definition of nirvana, and we'll go into it more in the whole class, but basically they stop their negative emotions forever. Like you can never longer have a negative emotion. You can no longer ever be happy. Be irritated. Be irritated, be angry. Yeah. So all the negative emotions, they're gone forever. And the only way that you can do this is by having this experience, Arya, to become an Arya. To understand where things are coming from is the only thing that makes it possible for you to understand that, all negative emotions are 100% misguided, because negative emotions become from misunderstanding things. You get irritated at the irritating person because you believe they're out there coming at you, period. And they have nothing to do with you, and they're just deciding to be irritating today. And then you become irritated. But an arhat has seen emptiness directly, and then has worked to remove, to habituate their mind to what they've seen, to remove all their negative emotions one by one. And this is another goal. So to become an Arya, and that's someone who's in nirvana. Nirvana means to blow out negative emotions forever. So it's a place, and you could be in nirvana sitting here, just and not look any differently. But just the voice in here is totally different. The mental voice is totally different. And these all happen before enlightenment, and are totally possible, but only if you meditate daily. You have to. Otherwise, it's a bad deal. We're kind of effed in this life, and this is as good as it gets. In essence, this is the best deal we have. So make use of the time, and practice your meditation. It's
How
got
long should you meditate daily for?
start with what you can.
Pardon me?
The correct answer is start with what you can. That was going to keep you going.
An hour.
So push yourself. No.
Every day. You have to.
No, like 10 minutes. I mean, everyone's got 10 minutes you can sit. Just sit and think about something. Very basic meditation is sit and think
Better
about
to
something
start the
positive
day off with meditation or end it with meditation?
in the morning, because the mind's freshest. But think about any of these ideas you heard tonight, or think about the irritating person. Sit down and just think about that idea for 10 minutes. That's meditation. Your mind gets distracted, you bring it back. That's the whole act of meditation. In Tibetan, it's called gom. G-O-M is the term for definition, which just means to habituate. And it means to habituate your mind to something. So we don't want to habituate our minds to our breath, because the breath isn't going to do much good for us. So in Buddhism, in this Tibetan Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, we use objects to habituate our minds to. So you habituate your mind to an idea like emptiness, that the fact that nothing is coming from, everything is coming from me and not at me. The irritatingness of the irritating person is coming from me. Habituating your mind to that over and over again will then prepare you to live your life in a more constructive way, that you're not going to keep recreating the causes for your crap. Cool?
Got it. Cool.
Everyone good? Look at that, we stopped on time. Well, not really, 2 minutes over, sorry.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah,
Thank you.
stop good? Look at that, we stopped on time. Well, not really, 2 minutes over, sorry.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you.